I'm not convinced I know how to read. I've just memorized a lot of words.
The first rule of Fight Club is, you do not talk about Fight Club.
True. All life ends in death, which we, as a species, are cursed with knowing, resulting in something. Again, this is really not my field.
It's the Al Travis Show. We love having this cat in here every couple of weeks. He's Seth on hockey. Going to talk us through what's going on in the state of hockey. Seth, how are you doing today, my friend?
Al, we're doing great. It is already November somehow, and we're getting into holiday season, and that's the big benchmark, especially in the NHL, for many teams. Is if you're in a playoff spot in Thanksgiving, usually you stay there. If not, you're in trouble.
Well, we'll talk about that. Let me ask you, see how old school you are. See, we used to believe that fall was for football, winter was hockey and basketball, but they overlap so far. I mean, football goes into February now. I mean, you'll be Easter and watching the end of the World Series or the Super Bowl. I get it someday. But even hockey starts earlier, ends later. Now, basketball, all of them. But I don't generally really get thinking about hockey much until there's some snow on the ground, which, by the way, covered my neck of the woods this weekend, so it's time to get into it. But I have been cursorily watching, and I need you to tell me what's going on with my Minnesota Wild, who are in second to last place in our division. Is anything picking up for them? Do you see anything that they had 2 wins in a row with Vancouver and Nashville, and lost the other night? Do you see something picking up? Where are we at? Are we worried yet?
You know, it's still a work in progress. I mean, they are tied for dead last in the league in arguably the most important category, 5-on-5 scoring. The reason I bring that up is because that's where you spend most of your time. Most of your time is spent playing 5-on-5, and the Wild are minus 12 in 5-on-5 goals this year. Until that picks up, everything else, and the game against Carolina was a good example of that. They got a couple of goals in 5-on-5, and then the defense is leaky, and the goaltending gives up a soft one. Like, it's just kind of a pick what is going to bite you every night that they've played.
Is that just a Minnesota thing? I mean, it's just all sports we seem to pull that off. We just paid this guy biggest salary of all time. I presume he's producing, and we don't have enough money to get the players around him. Is this an attitude thing, and a coach has got to kick some people in the rear end? What is with lapses like that?
Yeah, it's funny because I kind of have been looking into that coach angle, and are the players motivated enough to be able to get off the bench and make some things happen in these games? And the big thing that's talked about over and over is you got to have the battle level, you got to have the compete level. It's like, shouldn't that just be a given? Shouldn't that be a given most every night? Like, I know you're going to have some games where you kind of lapse, second night of back-to-back. You're going to have some games where you have to kind of really find it, but I can't really call that like your rally cry. Like, that should just be something you bring every game.
You mean like when they write you a check to perform like that? Is that what you're talking about? You should just probably have it. I don't necessarily disagree with you. Is it a depth problem? And what I mean by that is, do we have enough lines? And when we lose on 5-on-5 battles, are those because our second and third strings are giving up too much? There's not enough depth there? What is the issue?
You hit it right on the head. You've got 2 lines in the lineup. Your third and fourth line that have been used as mostly defensive lines. They really don't give you any scoring at all. So you're putting a ton of pressure on your top guys, your Kirill Kaprizovs, your Matt Boldy's. You're putting all the pressure on those guys, and you're basically saying, boy, if they don't score a couple of times, and again, against Carolina, Matt Boldy scored twice in his 300th NHL game. He looked fantastic, and it wasn't enough because you didn't get support elsewhere, and you had a couple of big breakdowns that led to easy goals for Carolina, who does have depth.
What about the goalie position? And you can't, I'm not blaming them on this, but you always get to playoffs like any hot goalie at a given time. Do we just need a goalie to get hot enough to save us from this kind of malaise to get us through the bad days, the bad times?
I think that goes back to the offense too. Like I think you look at all the pressure. Like, if you are a team that's not scoring, your goalie obviously has to get you one back. And that's a lot of pressure. And as the season wears on, that kind of starts to wear on a guy. Like, I just, I had a game where I gave up one goal and we lost. Like, what am I going to have to do? Get a shutout tonight?
Yeah.
Like, it's just a lot of pressure. And I think Philip Gustafson certainly is a good goalie. If the Wild can figure out this scoring thing and can start to consistently produce, that's just going to take so much pressure off of everything else.
All right, that's fair enough. Tell me the teams that you are impressed with. Again, the Avalanche still on top, the Jets. The Utah Mammoth, real quick on the Mammoth thing, other than the Anaheim Ducks, which was a whole Disney thing, that's how stupid that mascot is. Who's scared of the Ducks? The Utah Mammoth, big, huge, lurky, not nimble animal. Terrible, terrible idea for a logo or a mascot. But they're up there. Did you see Utah being there? Are you cool with the standings as they are? And who do you think might be moving up and who's coming down?
I love what Utah has done, but I will agree with your point that they should be, their mascot should be a Ferrari with how they play. They
Thank you.
are young, they are fast, they are so much fun to watch.
Oh, that's cool.
If anything, if we're being honest, maybe the Mammoth should be the Minnesota Wild's logo. Who knows?
If you're being honest, I'm like honest. Honest is good. We'd be the Mammoth.
They have been such a fun team to start. You've got the Avalanche at the top of the division where they have been pretty much all season. Utah is, I think, one of the biggest surprises in the league. We knew they had the talent. It just they haven't been able to put it together the last couple of years. And now finally this year, everything is clicking, and they look like a team that can beat anybody on any given night.
That's fair enough. Is there any team in either side, even the East? Is there somebody you're loving watching? It looks like the Bruins might be back a little bit. They might be back up on top, but the Rangers, very Minnesota-like. Sorry,
Yeah.
Minnesota.
Not a great start for the Rangers. How about Sidney Crosby at 38 years old leading the NHL in goals?
Yeah, how about that?
That Pittsburgh team is, I don't know how they're doing it. I don't know how that roster is getting it done, and yet they just continue to produce. That's got to be one of the big stories in the East. It's just how good the Pittsburgh Penguins have been to start the year.
Who scored their 900th goal the other day, and they tried to hide the puck?
That was Alex Ovechkin that got number 900, and Jordan Binnington, who is kind of a turd.
That's funny.
He has made plenty of those types of plays and moments in his career. It was more kind of an eye roll for me, just because he does things like that on a nightly basis. Like, hey, let's see what I'm doing. He got pulled in that game, so I guess he got what was coming to him. But
do those players go in knowing that the next time this guy scores 900, that is in their head? I guess I sit there. I'm not a hockey player. Do you spend that much time on what other teams' little numbers are so that you can be a part of history and do that? It would have like happened. Ref would have picked it up. I would not have known.
I would imagine they do. I've never been in a situation myself to really, be on milestone watch, but it was such a big deal for Ovechkin to pass Gretzky. There was so much publicity on it that I know it was talked about in the locker room, because that kind of thing creates pressure. Because if Ovechkin, if he's not playing well, you're kind of trying to force it to him to get him his goal. Granted, he's played incredibly well, but I think it's something that you are definitely aware of, because you want to be one of those guys that helps contribute to those major milestones.
When you also don't want to, on the other side, the other team, you don't want to be that goalie. Right? Because that's the picture that's going to be played every time for history's sake now until somebody beats it. All right. We got to go to break. I want to talk some college hockey, if you're good with that. Can we do that after the break?
Yeah, absolutely.
We got him. Seth on hockey on the Al Travis Show.
You need a friend at the Capitol who knows how to get things done.
And you're in luck, because that's exactly who we are. Your friends at the Capitol, and we deliver results.
At Momentum Advocacy, we bring decades of experience in lobbying, public affairs, and crisis communications.
From local nonprofits to national corporations, we help you move policy, manage your media, and make your voice heard.
We're not just seasoned pros, we're essential partners.
Momentum Advocacy, your friends at the Capitol. Learn more at momentum-advocacy.com.
Think about it. A famous politician once said, "You're entitled to your opinion, but you are not entitled to your own facts." But in a world full of AI and fake news, where can Minnesotans find the facts? Center of the American Experiment is Minnesota's go-to source for fact-based analysis and common sense solutions for taxes, energy, public safety, and our kids' education. Visit AmericanExperiment.org for more information. Think About It is brought to you by Center of the American Experiment, Minnesota's think tank.
It's nice to know a guy that knows a guy. Al Travis.
We know him as Seth. He actually does the indoor announcing at the Mavericks hockey game. Seth, thank you very much for being here and doing this with us. When we talk high school hockey, this gets splits up in a lot of different ways, but in the double CHA, our division for the Mavericks, if you will, for your team, you're sitting dead center in the pack. Is Bemidji State interesting that they're on the top?
Yeah, I think especially because of how they have had some rough seasons here over the last couple of years. I think seeing them at the top of the standings, that's been a surprise to start the year for sure. It's just one of those things I always ask with those teams that kind of come out of relative nowhere is, can they sustain it?
Sure.
Or is something going to happen, like an injury or otherwise, that drops them back down to the pack? But that they are off to a good start for sure.
All right, and when we look down, it's Bowling Green, Augustana, Michigan, then Minnesota State Mavericks. You okay with the start so far?
Yeah, considering how much roster turnover Minnesota State had coming into this season, they're dealing with some injuries at this point in the year. It's still a feeling out process, and once some of those line combinations start to click, once they get a couple guys back in the lineup, if you can just kind of hang around in the early part of the season and then make a push, that's how you make your hay.
All right, and then when it comes down to the actual playoffs, this has to do with this USCHO ranking, right? That's how you get into the playoffs.
Yes, that's new this year. They've used the pairwise forever.
Pairwise. All right. But they're not this year. This is the one I'm on the right page, right? I mean, this is what gets me. All right. So when we look at that, do any of these names ring a bit true for you? Michigan State, Michigan, Penn State, Western Michigan. I mean, hello, Michigan, Quinnipiac, Miami. Then you get to a Minnesota team, Minnesota Duluth at 7, North Dakota's close at 8, Denver and Wisconsin at 10. Does that surprise you any? Is there somebody that should be in there that is not? A Boston College, maybe?
I think, I think that's a good start as far as the top 10 goes. I've been real surprised by Minnesota Duluth so far this year.
Okay.
They swept the Gophers earlier in the season, which, by the way, the Gophers are it might be time to try to jumpstart that engine a little bit, because they are off to a rough start. But for the Mavericks, Wisconsin being in the top 10, that's one of the differences with the standings this year. Wisconsin being in the top 10 actually helps the Mavericks because they had the 2 ties.
Okay. Strength of schedule sort of thing is what you're saying?
Exactly. Okay. Strength of schedule. So that helps them out. Michigan State buoyed by one of the Minnesota Wild's prospects, Charlie Stramel. He's having a great season. They're having a great year. A lot of the teams that you would expect to see at this point of the year in the standings, Denver, perennial power, really just kind of a lot of expected names at the top, but I would say Minnesota Duluth definitely, they're one that I've got my eyes on here early.
Fair enough. And now we go down a little. Connecticut, Boston University, Massachusetts, Northeastern Providence. 16 is your Mankato State Mavericks. We'll just round out Cornell, Boston, Ohio State, and Colorado. You're sitting here telling me you're not thrilled with our start so far, not negative, just we got to pick up the pace. And you're sitting at 16. That's got to be a pretty nice sit. That means you're into the playoffs if things stop tomorrow. But you're expecting us to climb, I take it.
I think so. This weekend, going up against Bowling Green, who is, I believe they're 2-3-1 on the season, should be a good opportunity to pick up a couple of home wins. Now, you can't just walk in and expect to win these games. Like, you got to bring it on your end too. But should be a couple opportunities for the Mavericks to pick up a couple of wins and get closer to kind of ironing everything out.
Now, I know that radio station you're at, KTOE, does a great job with the broadcasting of the games. How is it when you're packed at the house? I remember this has got to be 20 years ago now when we first started broadcasting those games on the cable. It was some of the first hockey I watched college-wise. And to be in that auditorium, to be in that stadium when hockey's going on and it's going on at a high level, there probably isn't a better ticket in the house as far as fun for fans. Are you guys at 16 and going so far? Has it been a rowdy crowd? How's it been?
Oh yeah, crowds have been good, and I think this past weekend the Mavericks had a home and home with St. Thomas on Halloween weekend. So you think, well,
oh wow,
people might be doing their trick or treating. Mavericks played at St. Thomas on Friday night, so they come back on Saturday, and the crowd was rocking.
All right, and this weekend I just to chat with them because I know you know everything about them. They have Bowling Green home and home here at home. You think they'll take those? We won't get you back here. Your thoughts on Lake Superior State? Sorry, I know nothing about them. And then we'll get you back here before Minnesota Tech, I believe. Yes. Yeah. So give me your Lake Superior State.
Lake Superior State, similar situation. It should be a couple of games that the Mavericks can take care of business with. Obviously, going on the road, you gotta deal with those road environments. But I look at this 4-game stretch as a good opportunity for the Mavericks to build a nice little roll here after one that they probably one that I think they feel like they maybe should have had against St. Thomas on Saturday. Yeah.
And that's fair enough. But as far as I understand with this hockey stuff, because you're supposed to win these 4 games, you win them, that's great. But it can really hurt you if you drop 1 or 2, right? I mean, that's where you get really dinged in college hockey. You have to win the ones everyone thinks you can win.
Yeah, that is 100% correct. So should be hopefully 4-0 for the Mavericks, but we'll take it game by game and we'll see what happens.
Seth, I appreciate you very much coming on the program, talking hockey with us, and being my hockey guy. Thank you for being here.
Al, a pleasure as always.
And if you're out there and about in Mankato land, get the hockey arena. What time's that game? 7:07. Get yourself there and listen to Seth. He's the announcer on the in-house. Thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you.
Braver Angels Minnesota is part of a national movement that brings together conservative